Forest was perfect. The city was the right size for me. Brian Clough, they put me in digs, the right digs near the near the stadium. I met some good lads who I'm big friends with now. I couldn't have picked it was the perfect environment for me.
Well, you mentioned DNA, and that you've got zero tolerance when it comes to standards around discipline late. You've zero. You are one of the highest.
Yeah, but only as I got older, Gary.
But I'm saying, as a youngster, you said you turned up, you're always on time, you worked hard.
Yeah.
Where did that? Because usually that comes from my dad. Sometimes you'd have a little bit of fear, wouldn't you, of your dad in terms of like if you did something wrong, or if you didn't play well, or if you were late. Where did that fear come from you when you were younger? That
I'm not sure, really. I just
your mum or your dad, or
yeah, obviously
the brothers.
Yeah, I like to think my family had good habits with that, but it wouldn't have been.
You don't remember anything like a discipline?
Not really. No, not really. Not my family kind of being. I just thought if you're training, I just had it. You should be on time for training and be on time for the matches.
Yeah.
I just had that. I think that was just a natural thought process. Not that I was never not late for training. I had my moments, of course. When I was out of Forest, about discipline. Listen, I was a young player. I was out enjoying myself. I'd done daft stuff. I'd done daft stuff when I first went to United. Would be out drinking or whatever. So I don't think for 1 minute I was just perfect pro. But I had certain principles. I thought, listen, if I can, try and be on time for training and train properly, like you're supposed to have, I suppose. But no big discipline stuff from me.
How was it with your brothers when you were growing up in terms of that environment?
It was good because I was in competition. I had 2 older brothers and 1 younger brother. So again, when we were out playing football or if I was playing at school, every day of the week I was playing football. I was getting touches of the ball, whether it be at school, where I lived, playing against lads who were older than me, obviously 2 older brothers, you'd be playing against, constantly in competition. And when I played football back in the day when you played out in the street, you'd be playing lads who were 16, 17, I'd be 10 or 11. And they'd be hitting you and you were... And I got good habits. Rockmore, the team I went to, was really important. They had really good players and they had a couple of good managers and they would speak about me in the midfield and getting stuck in, all these type of habits I picked up. So I was surrounded by really good people, really good people. I was, again, unbelievably lucky.
What was your first interaction with Brian Clough like? What was it like? You say you're messing around a bit.
Well, I didn't really see Brian Clough because pre-season I was obviously with the younger players and the first-year pros and the reserves. So
what about when you got towards the first team?
My first involvement with Brian Clough was probably the real proper chat I had with him would have been when I made my debut.
Right.
Pre-season I was away with the reserves. But again, I was lucky when I was at Forest, and because I was again I was full-time training, so I was feeling great. I thought, Jesus, again amazing. And I played a couple of friendly matches, and as you do pre-season with the reserves, and I scored a few headers. And it was only years later on, I speak to Martin and he said, apparently Brian Clough would love players who could head the ball, love players who can head it. And I scored, I think, a couple in a reserve match, like a friendly match in front of him. And so I must have been winning them over, the fact I was getting forward. And like my Forest career, getting on the end of things. And they were, obviously, I was, like you do when you're a manager, you're watching players, you're looking, what's he got? And then the first game of the season, Forest on the Saturday, Forest played at home to QPR. I think they drew with them. And the reserve teams were playing Monday night. And then Forest, the first team we went to Liverpool on the Tuesday. And Liverpool were obviously really strong at the time. And I was used to put the team up on the Monday for the reserves. And I was sub for the reserves on the Monday night. And I was delighted. I thought, reserve, sub for the reserve. Brilliant. I'm progress already. I've only just come over. I get on for about 10 minutes in the reserve match. And apparently some of the staff, Brian Clough, they'd already left with 10 minutes to go. So I played 10 minutes of reserves. I was delighted. I've always said we went for a few pints after the game, with the reserves. And I came in on the Tuesday morning. So I played 10 minutes for the reserves, delighted with myself, I've made a bit of progress already. And I was told, you're going up to Liverpool tonight. The team already gone up, you're following them up with Ron Fenton and Brian Clough. We picked Brian Clough up on the way of Derby to Liverpool.
In the car?
Yeah, me, Phil Starbuck and Ron Fenton was the assistant manager. We picked Brian Clough at his house. We go in, I remember sitting in his house and he comes down, he says, I remember he gave me a pint of milk. But I thought I'm going up.
Pint of milk?
I thought I'm going up for the experience of being with the first team and I helped the kit man. We see lots of clubs do that with young players. And he came in, I remember he gave me a pint of milk and I went, I said, I don't like milk. He says, you better drink that. He says, I'm putting the bottles out. I threw the pint. So I know the dealings with him. And then I went up and met the players and I got to the stadium at Liverpool and I was putting the gear out with the kit man. Brian Clough said, what are you doing? I said, I'm just putting the gear out. He went, no, you're wearing that tonight.
Did you start?
I started at Liverpool on the Tuesday night.
Wow.
So subs reserves on the Monday. Went out, had a few pints. I didn't go crazy. What, 6, 7 pints. The Tuesday, I got and played at Liverpool. And Liverpool, obviously Barnes and Ronnie Whelan and all these boys. And players came over and were introducing themselves to me. And because I wasn't even in the dressing room with them,
Jesus.
hadn't even gone. Had a training session with him. He said,
What
"You're
position
standing
did
right."
you, what was
I played on the right side of midfield. But
Surprised
what he
you
did
didn't
say to
swell
me,
the milk up.
he said the first thing really he said to me regarding football, and I made a career out of it. He just said, "You're putting that on." He says, "I've seen you pre-season." I was like, but I wasn't that intimidated by Brian Clough because I was young and innocent.
Yes.
He said, "I've seen you pre-season." He said, "You can control the ball." And I was like, "Yeah." He said, "You can pass it." I said, "Yeah." And he said, "You can run." I went, "Yeah." And he went, "Just do them 3 things for me." And I went, "Yeah." And I go every time, even when I left Forest and I went to United, or I might have been having difficult spells, I remember they were the basics for me. Control the ball. I know people laugh when I say control the ball, pass it and run. That was my career. And that's what he said to me before my debut. "Can you do that for me?" And I'm, absolutely.
But you was a box to box, and you scored a lot of goals. Didn't
Yeah, at Forest, my role was, again, I was, yeah, and Forest, again, had the perfect players, whether it be Nigel, Teddy, Lee Glover, Tommy. They had strikers who were very good on the half turn. And Stuart, again, go back to Forest. Brian Clough loved centre forwards who got hold of it.
you? Yes.
Loved it. I know the games are slightly different. And I used to get, and all I did in Forest, I just ran. I just like a headless chicken. So they'd be playing the strikers. Nigel, if you look at any of my goals at Forest, I'm just running. I'm gone. I'm not even involved in the build-up play, which I had to change obviously when I went to United. Different tests, I suppose. But Piercy wouldn't honestly whip it into Nigel. Nigel getting a half turn, and I'm gone. Nigel would just be picking me out. Lee Glover was very good. I don't know if you remember Lee Glover.
Yes.
Very good on the half turn. So Forest again was a perfect club for me. But Brian Clough was very tough on me as well. You know, as much as he gave me my debut and gave me great advice, it was a tough school in that dressing room. I found it hard sometimes. You'd be homesick, and but he was also he'd be on my back, Brian Clough. He'd be on my back,
Was you going back often then? Was you going back?
yeah, I was
home
going
often,
probably too much. Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, because every time I went to see him, remember I was doing really well. I'd go back probably every 4 or 5 weeks. I'd say to him, "Is it all right if I go back?" And he'd go, "Of course." I was doing well for him. He'd go, "Yeah, off you go." I'd go back for a few days, and